Do you ever regret van life?
I have not yet.
How long have you been doing it?
For almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in September.
Okay.
The only thing that I've found inconvenient is if I'm moving too much. Like when I first started it, I wanted to visit people. So it was all about like, I've got this freedom to go see whoever I want. And I wanted to go visit my parents and like friends in Arkansas and stuff. And so I feel like I was driving too much. I was just on the road too much. And so now I really like the prospect of finding a good spot on BLM land where there's like cool trails, water if possible, so I can paddle, and being able to be there for a couple weeks, so I can really explore the place.
Yeah.
And feel like I have more of a schedule, like a day-to-day, like feel that stability. I travel with my boyfriend Scott, and so like we'll typically find a place that either one of us likes a lot and has been to before and wants to like share with the other, or somewhere we've never been before. And then we both work during the day, so like after work in the evenings we can go check out trails and stuff, and it's nice because they're right there.
Yeah. You
don't have to travel to them. And then on the weekends, of course, we can do like a bigger adventure. So
what's your best way to find like good spots to camp on BLM land? Is there an app you use?
Yeah, there's an app called iOverlander, and that's actually pretty good. People can drop a spot on there if they've found a really great campsite, and they'll tell you is there cell service, which doesn't matter for us because we have satellites and stuff, but you can find out if it's actually like legit, legal too. Sometimes people put spots on there and they're not. But really, if you have a good land layer on Gaia or like Public Lands app, you can just look at the aerials and find a Forest Service road that looks like it has good pullouts and stuff, and go make your own spot too. So.
Yeah. Do you use Starlink for your internet?
Yes.
And that works well?
That is amazing. And that's actually the only reason I was able to finally go fully mobile. Mm-hmm. Because it works everywhere. I mean, you're not supposed to use it like around a ton of trees because it needs a clear view of the sky to be able to get satellites. But we've actually had really good success in treed areas as long as there's a nice gap. And that gap is in the direction that the satellite wants to be pointed. Usually around here it would be like north.
Yeah.
I think when we were on the west coast, it might have been west. But you kind of figure out which way it wants to point. So then you can look at a site and say, okay, there's trees, but we can get this gap here.
Right.
So
what a game changer Starlink was. Like for all kinds of stuff, including like Cocodona, like big ultra races. It allowed them to have media streams in these remote places, right? So like,
wow.
Like I don't think Cocodona would be, because Cocodona, are you familiar with the race?
I'm only familiar with it in that I listened to your interviews with Jessica because she had done it.
Okay, so it's like the premier ultra long distance running race, foot race in like the Southwest, or in like it's like becoming the premier race in the United States, and it's like they've built a business out of it. Airvipa has. It's an incredible thing they've done that I'm like envious. I'm wondering when like the people in the bikepacking world are going to try and make that same thing happen. I'm not sure if it's possible, but I don't think they could have done it without Starlink, because they turned it, and I've said this before on the podcast, so forgive me, listeners, if you've heard this over and over again, but like they turned ultra running into a spectator sport, which is like the most ridiculous thing ever. It's the most boring sport to just watch somebody like go like 4 miles per hour, right? Just like trudging through. But they've somehow made it like everybody watches the live stream, and they tune in, and it's like this big event for 5 days, and they interview people, and they've managed to make it like super popular, and then it built upon itself. So like more people watch the live stream, more people want to do it. They sell out the next year, and it just grows and grows and grows, and they added more races over time. But I just don't think they would have been able to do that without satellite feeds, without Starlink, because they're out in the middle of nowhere sending video feeds.
That's amazing.
In real time from drones and from like GoPro cameras. And so it's such a, like, I think it's like a underappreciated technical component that made a lot of these things happen, made this become what it is.
Yeah.
Cocodona specifically.
That's really interesting to hear, because I've seen some of the bigger ultra runs be tracked, like Scott tracks a few of them. Mm-hmm. There's a woman named Candace she's like an ultra runner, and she has a series of races that are pretty popular, I guess. And they'll use like the cell trackers, I think.
Yeah.
And so you can watch it online. And I know they have people like updating on Facebook and stuff, but I don't know that they do video and everything. And to me, it would be incredibly boring unless I knew someone I loved was out there to watch that dot move so slowly. So yeah, I think the videos and
it's amazing
stuff
what they've done.
Be appealing.
Candace, I think, is doing Moab. I think her race is like, she does a series of races. I forget her last name. Moab, there was one she just did called the Arizona Monster that had a bunch of controversy with it.
What was the controversy with that? Was that, I think I heard like aid stations weren't very good, like they ran out of water and stuff. And is that, do you know, like a typical thing for a new race, or was that mismanagement to a degree?
I look, it's like once you've seen like the organization and the work in something like Cocodona and the Aravaipa runs, they have that shit down to a science. Like they've built on years of like making minor mistakes and correcting them and correcting them and correcting them. And they've built like a perfectly run event. I mean, it's not perfect, like, but they don't do things like cut short on water or make sure there's not bathrooms available and accessible or clean bathrooms. Like that was another problem that I heard on the Arizona Monster was they didn't get porta potties in places that they could have gotten porta potties delivered, and a lot of the bathrooms were overflowing. They used like these like compostable toilets with like these little floppy, you know, like those floppy changing stations that you can pop up.
Yeah.
They use those and put them over the compostable toilets, and they work okay, but then there was just too many people. I think they just underestimated the needs that people were going to have. Now, it was the first year, so you got to give Candace and crew a little bit of slack. I would try and give her, like, be charitable, right? Yeah. But it's hard to like see that, because in my opinion they built a race that's trying to like ride the coattails of Cocodona. Like Cocodona sells out, like, so they open the registration for the following year during the race of the current year, and it sells out during the the next year sells out during this year's event, right?
That says a lot too, because those are pretty like thousands of dollars, aren't they, to do these races?
They're like
5 days or whatever.
Yeah, they're like $1,500 or $1,700 or something like that, because they provide us sleep stations and they provide all your food and they provide everything that's needed. And Cocodona has just kept trying to figure out like, how do we maximize our resources that we're putting into this one event and make more money. So that means like, do we add mini events inside of it? So like we'll add a 125 distance, we'll add like a 50-mile distance, and we'll add another 100, all on the same course that is using all the same aid stations, using all the same crew people, using all the same like stuff, and they're just making more money, and it's still selling out, right? And so then you see like these other race directors have opportunities. I think like the Arizona Monster was like an opportunity where it's like, okay, all the people that didn't get into Cocodona will probably go and do this race, right? They'll probably pay the money. Mm-hmm. And then there's like, just like people had, a shitty experience. A lot of people did.
Literally with the bathrooms.
Literally. And the water became problematic because people allegedly were taking water from ATA cash boxes. Is
that not allowed for the race?
I think they were taking private water.
Oh, that's cruel.
Yeah,
seriously,
that's a big like shameful thing to do when you're
that could honestly like put someone's life in danger if they're relying on their water. I mean, even just the section that we just went through with Babbitt Ranch and stuff, I stashed. I was telling you, like from East Cedar Tank on up to Tusayan, like 1 to 2 liters every 10 miles. And I feel like I should have stashed more.
Yeah.
So if you're out there and your private water is gone, you're screwed.
Totally. And there was some fallout with the live stream people also that went public. Like the people who ran the live stream posted all of the email communications back and forth between Candace and the live stream people.
Drama.
And it was totally drama. I know. I like airing the dirty laundry. Like, I don't know if like that's particularly okay. Like when I read the thing and I digested that information, I was like, this is just two people having a business relationship with no contract that deteriorated. And they both were being shitty to each other. But if they had a contract, like a business should, like, here's what you're going to pay me. Here are all the things I'm going to provide. Here are the contingencies. And you're going to give me this money by this date, whatever, a deposit, and then the final of when it's done or whatever, right? If they had that, they couldn't just like fight and bicker online about who said what about what, right? So they both, like, in my opinion, it was both of their faults, because neither of them, like, as far as I could tell, there was no contract that they could just like point to and say, hey, this was in the contract, so sorry. Like, that's what a professional does, right?
Tough lesson learned there.
Yeah. But it's like, how are we having these problems when there's a company that's been doing this and they have like the template to do these things perfectly worked out?
It's so easy to say that. And but when you're actually doing the organizing and stuff, I imagine it's much harder in practice to follow that template sometimes. So like you said, be gracious and stuff, but hopefully next year goes better. Yeah,
hopefully. And I think, it's on Arizona Trail. Yeah, most of it is on the Arizona Trail, like 90% of it. I think it goes from the Arizona Monster goes from Superior to Patagonia on the Arizona Trail.
Okay.
With exception to, they like go up the north side of Mount Lemmon and then they turn around and go back down, and then they go around the front. They don't like go up and over all the way for some reason. I don't know why. So it is a good like fundraiser for Arizona Trail. Like, I think part of the money goes to the ATA.
That's cool.
So like, I don't want to see it go away because of that, because I'm like, always advocating for like raising money for ATA. But at the same time, like, you can't be doing races that, I don't know, just like, you just can't be doing races like that. People aren't going to sign up. The problem is there's so much supply that like people can get away with doing a shitty job running races, and people still sign up.
Oh, there's that many people that want to
like,
do these things.
It's an imbalanced capitalist system. Like, there's so many people that want to do these things that they will deal with a crappy race just to sign up. It's like some bike races in Flagstaff. There's a couple bike races, I won't name them, where like gravel races, where you're like, what? How did I pay for this? The aid station isn't even in the right spot. It's like 3 miles off course. Yeah.
How does that even happen?
I don't know. They have like friends and family running I don't know. They don't know how to use GPS. I don't know. But like, when I pay for something, I have expectations that I'm going to have a certain minimum level of service, right?
Yeah. So did you do that one where it was 3 miles off course?
The bike race?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you do? Did people go off course to this aid station?
So nobody knew where it was.
Oh.
It just wasn't where it was supposed to be. We found out later that they just set up in the wrong spot.
That's so sad.
Yeah. And people, like, there were people relying, they had rationed or whatever, or like, calculated the amount of food and water that they needed to get to that next spot.
Of course.
Now I'm like the son of a prepper, so I'm like, I carried an extra liter over here and a couple extra Snickers bars, because you never know what's going to happen, right?
Lucky.
The other thing that happened on that race was like they had like course markings, and they sent you the wrong way.
No way.
Yeah.
Was this a first year event too, or?
So things like this happened for the first 3 years of the event.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it different people that were in charge of stuff, and so there was just no improvement built on the previous year?
I don't know.
That's fun.
It was just very like, look, like, and I was like the only person that brought a computer with a GPS line or GPX line. And I was like, hey guys, I don't think the course goes that way, that the arrow's pointing, because like the line goes that way.
Wow.
Because I'm like used to following a line
Yeah.
on a GPS, not doing like paid races, where you don't technically need like a computer,
That makes the type of stuff that we usually do more appealing.
Mm-hmm.
Like not having to rely on support and having those mistakes.
I mean, so tell me, like, you do, look, I looked at your like track leader's race resume, and like you do big stuff.
I did, yeah.
Like you've had a history of just like, you just don't do, maybe you just don't post the small stuff, but like everything you've done has just been like epic.
I think, I'm trying to think if there's anything that wouldn't be on there, but there's probably not. Like, I've done West End Gravel Rush, Tim Tate's day event.
Yeah.
I don't think that would be on there. Like
Yeah.
some fun day stuff like that, or Mid-South. But yeah, I started big, and it wasn't like intentional. Back in 11 or so, I was looking at the Pacific Crest Trail. Back then I backpacked.
Okay.
And I wanted to do that trail. I was like, it would be so cool to do something that's several months long and just be out in the woods. But I'd also recently gone back to school for a career change. So looking at my summer schedule for school and stuff, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to take off the amount of time to do a through hike. And I had recently started biking to school and work. I just went to Walmart and got $100, whatever they sell there, Huffy or something.
Yeah, sweet.
And I was just like commuting back and forth on that. And I was like, I wonder if you can do like a bike route thing. So I looked it up online and I found the Great Divide mountain bike route. And so I started looking at the ACA website stuff for that and everything. And in my research for this route, because I was like, well, shoot, I'll do that and I can see more. And maybe I'll have time to do the whole thing during summer break or whatever. And in looking into that, I found the tour, the Ride the Divide movie.
Yeah.
And so I saw people race it, and I was like, shoot, if people race this and they're going as fast as they can, then I could see that much more quickly and definitely get it done with the time I have. So I decided to do this race, and having never bike packed in my life. And I think before the first time I tried it, which was 2013, I think my longest ride was 60 miles. So definitely not great. I didn't go out and test my gear overnight because I was like, oh, I've backpacked a million times. I know how to like set up my whatever. And so I get out there trying to go northbound. I started with the Grand Depart. And by the time I was in the Gila, I had just like shit flying off the bike whenever I'd go down a bumpy hill and stuff. I learned what saddle sores were during the event because I got them so bad I was bleeding. I rolled into Beaverhead Work Center. My face was so red because I didn't reapply sunscreen often enough that I was just a lobster. And when I was filling my water, some of the guys came down to talk to me, and just the looks on their faces, I was like, I must look like crap. So they're like, oh, you can use our bathroom inside or whatever. And so I did, and I saw myself in the mirror, and I was just like a lobster. I looked and saw what the saddle sores looked like. I was just like, oh my God, this is terrible. And there was a woman there that was delivering burritos to the work people. And she's like, hey, if you want off this course, I'll give you a ride to TRC. That's where Truth or Consequences, where she was from.
Yeah.
And I was having a rough go of it at that point. So I was just like, yeah, I'll take the ride. So, of course, on the way to TRC, I wasn't like super disappointed that I was dropping because I was miserable, but I was also just like planning for next year. I was just like, all right, I need to figure out my gear. I need to camp more. I need to do longer day rides. So over the next year, I actually started riding bike more. I did some century rides on the canals. I was living in Phoenix at the time. And based on that, I was able to get out there in 2014 then and successfully go northbound. I did an ITT because I couldn't get off for the Grand Depart because of school and stuff. And then the next year I was like, well, I want to see what it's like southbound now. Same thing, did an ITT, knocked a whole week off my finish time, which felt good. And then after that, I think it was just kind of like when you start with something that's that big, that long, and you're in the woods for that long, having those experiences of like the mental reset and stuff, I think I just kind of like appreciated that and wanted to do longer distance stuff. So I guess I just kept with the longer distance things. I did No, it wasn't French Divide next. It was American Trail Race. That was 2017. That was the one that I think it was Neil Balchenko and Billy Rice put together this course. It was North Carolina to Port Orford, Oregon. And we started on an island in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So we all went out there, took our ferries and stuff. We camped overnight. And then in the morning, the neutral start was a ferry ride to the mainland. And then you took off.
That's rad.
Yeah, so rad. And it was amazing because there's like another little island that was close to the one we camped on where it was known to have like wild horses that had been, I don't know, taken there by settlers way back when. And this herd just was still out there doing their thing. So we were like on the boat together, like wind in our hair, salt breeze, and like looking for the horses and stuff. And it was just like a really relaxing way to start a race. There were no pre-race jitters at that point.
Yeah.
But that one was amazing. And that's the longest thing I've ever done. That was 5,140 miles.
Jesus.
It took me 47 days. So I averaged, over 100 miles for 47 days, which thinking about it now, it's just like, that's bonkers. But I mean, to me, that's like, And it was so remote too. Like that's a life-changing type of event because you get so much time out there just alone in the woods, you know, reassessing where your life's currently at. I like to do that whenever I do an event, like, you know, do my current actions comport with my values, and, you know, am I heading where I want to in life? Is there anything I need to change, you know?
So a couple things I want to like linger on. You have this, a lot of, I think, bikepackers or people that do these things have this like figure it outiveness, or like they immediately look at what happened and they reassess and they figure out how to solve the problems, and they're problem solvers. They're like serial problem solvers, right? Were you like that before you got into like through hiking? Like as a child, were you like that? Like where did that come from?
That's a great question. And I think it did come from when I was a child. I think, so my dad worked, he was a teacher, and he did a lot of stuff. Teacher, coach, guidance counselor, driver's ed. And he was at like in the next town over. So I don't remember him being gone a ton, but I think my mom said he was basically like gone early in the morning till like late in the evening and stuff. And then my mom worked from home. She's an artist. And so she'd be in her shop, you know, painting or, you know, making things. And so when us kids would like run out there and bother her, like with the problems, I remember her sometimes being like, well, figure it out, you know? And so I think we had instilled in us from a young age, like figure stuff out. So maybe that self-sufficiency was kind of like instilled there.
Yeah.
And I think too, maybe I have some like innate stubbornness of like wanting to do things myself. I remember one time she was telling a story about how I was going to bed. I was a young child, and I think my dad maybe was going to like take my water to the bedroom for me, and maybe did. And I, you know, they like whoever it was left the room, and I marched back out to the dining room with my glass of water, and I slammed it on the table, and I was like, I said I'd do it myself in this like demonic voice, and then turned around with the water and like went back to my bedroom.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a personal characteristic I've always had.
Like independent
problems,
spirit.
Yeah, independence, problem solving, whatever.
Are your like was your mom independent?
Yeah, I think both my parents were and are independent and
yeah
problem
solvers.
Yeah,
I mean that just seems to be like
creative.
You have to do that. You creative problem solving too, right?
Yeah.
You have to do that in order to continue to go back, because I mean this is like, if you break this down in a utility point of view, the things that we're doing, it's really like, I mean, there's some people that just kind of fly by the seat of their pants and get away with it, you know?
Like no mechanicals, like lucked out type of deal, or
yeah, or they're physically talented enough that they can get by a lot of the things that, you know, they can move fast enough that planning water isn't as big of an issue for them, for example.
Okay, I see.
Justinis is one of those. I remember specifically on the CTR, where he's just like pretty nonchalant about like his lights for his batteries for his lights just falling out of his tail fin pack, and he's just like, oh well, you know.
I'll just buy some more at the next place. Is there like resupply like that on CTR? Like pretty regular stores you can buy those things? Or
no, I would say it's pretty like, I would be freaking out if I lost my extra light. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like I'd be panicking, but that's my personality trait, and I'm always trying to like dial in the process. That's actually part of the process for me. And talking about Stagecoach, the 200 that we just did, that was, I think, one of the fun parts of this thing, was coming up with this idea, thinking like, I think this is possible. I had people tell me like, I don't know if that's a good idea, and I'm like, I think this is doable.
With
like,
the water, was that their concern?
Yeah,
just how
like
hot and dry.
Yeah, the distances.
Yeah.
And so to explain for the listeners, so we just finished a 200 mile and change mission on the Stagecoach Line 100 that runs from Flagstaff to Tusayan, which is the south rim of the Grand Canyon. And the concept was mountain bike the old Stagecoach Line, which is now the Arizona Trail, from Flagstaff to Tusayan. Leave your bike in Tusayan or get it picked up. I had mine picked up because I didn't want to leave mine to a tree. Kudos to you for like having the courage to stash it, and then run it back or through hike it back. Return by foot, whichever way. And the only real rule that I set for myself, and for you, whether or not you cared or followed it, I don't care. It wasn't that big of a deal, but I wanted my own personal rule that was you could not pick anything up from crew at all. Like no crew. So in the spirit of self-supported, so everything that you brought, you had to bring everything that you were going to use for the return journey. You could leave stuff, but you couldn't accept anything from anyone along the way. And that made it like extremely challenging in my brain. Like, okay, what do I do about shoes? That was the first thing I thought. Like,
did you wear 2 different pairs of shoes?
No, I wore the same pair.
Did you? Okay.
Yep. And that was like the first thing I thought about when I was planning this was, how am I going to do this? Because I wanted to move fast enough on the way back that I could make it all work with a running vest and not like a larger backpack. Because I was going to wear my Osprey Stratos backpack, and but it was just like too bulky to run in. To actually move decently fast running. And I knew I could like at least run like 50 miles of this thing. I knew I could do that. Like at a decent kind of, I guess, an old man shuffle kind of pace. You know what I mean? But a little faster than like a fast packing sort of pace.
Yeah,
right?
a good jog.
Yeah. And I just couldn't do that with that bag. So I thought, well, let me minimize the amount of stuff I'm going to bring, and the big one is the shoes. So I did flat pedals, and I just did my main running shoes, like Hoka Stinsons, and used those on the way out, and they were great. It was
awesome.
It was fine on the way out. So we both finished, and it was so
woo,
yeah,
good
congratulations.
Job.
Yeah. So when you first heard about it, like what'd you find interesting? Why'd you decide to come do this with me?
Well, I had previously a plan that I've now departed from based on this event. So one thing that I'd wanted to do for a while has been an ITT of the Arizona Trail race route bike in the spring. And I also have been wanting to backpack more again. So I was like, I could take a couple months leave of absence from work, do the bike north, and then fast pack south, but hit all the cool wilderness sections that you can't be on a bike.
Right.
And based on, that goal, I've been training for, over a year now with that in mind, like rucking and stuff, and just kind of like thinking of logistics with water for the fast pack portion and everything. So when I heard you say that you had this idea, I was like, shoot, that gives me the opportunity to recon 100 miles of trail and then see what the logistics are like with the backpack, for the foot portion. And based on this experience, which was absolutely amazing, I've decided I definitely don't need to through hike the Arizona Trail. I prefer stuff with like more water, more greenery. Yeah. It's a great trail. I'd rather section hike it.
Yeah.
And so eventually I'll just do like an ITT northbound of the bike portion. But that was basically it. I heard about this and I was like, this fits perfectly with like my reconning and planning for this big thing that I was going to do.
Yeah. So this talked you out of it? Is that what you just said?
Yeah. This talked me out of it, which is awesome.
Okay.
It's one of those things like how I was saying with events. I always like sit and think like, are my actions like jiving with what my goals are, right, and like what I'm enjoying in life and where I want to go, what I want to do. And I realized that I definitely don't need to through hike the Arizona Trail. I'd like to hike more sections of it, but it doesn't need to be in one go.
Yeah.
I just feel like that wouldn't be a great use of my time. And then even with like an ITT of the trail itself on bike, I don't even know that I'd call it an ITT at this point, because I'd love to like tour it at a slower pace, like 3 to 4 weeks even, because the northbound section of the Stagecoach Line 200, I realized like I just don't have the huge days in me anymore. Like I used to love during bike pack racing, seeing how many miles I can get in a day, pushing myself to get to a certain spot. Like I'm going to get to this town even if it takes me till 4 a.m. as long as I'm moving at a decent clip. If I'm stumbling and bumbling, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
But I used to find a lot of like fulfillment in that. And now as we were going north, I was like, I just want to go to bed. Like I have no desire to push past whatever time. At 8 o'clock when it started getting dark, I was just like, I could find camp now. I could just go to bed. And I think I only got 70 miles maybe in. And I could have pushed through, but instead I just went to bed by like 9 and I slept for 8 hours. And so that was another realization I had during this event was I don't find like the same fulfillment in bike packing races as I used to, as far as I feel like I'm taking off work to work.
Yeah.
is what I came up with while I was out there. I was just like, man, I take off work, I do this thing where I'm pushing myself so hard physically, mentally, emotionally for a full week that I'm not feeling that like this mental relaxation, and then I'm going straight back to work. So I think I'm at a point where I'd rather just like get some friends together, do a tour, go 40, 50 miles of, fun single track, maybe less, if it's single track, and then find a cool camp and just like hang out, make a good dinner, see some scenes, do a side quest hike or something.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, thanks for that. This
Yeah, you're
actually
welcome.
changed my plans for like the rest of the year. I was going to register for UME this fall.
Yeah.
I've done that one twice. It's a different course every year for people who aren't familiar with the race, Utah Mixed Epic. And it showcases, it's a really fantastic race. The course goes through each year goes through various types of terrain. This year's course Jackie Baker made, she really front loaded like the first 200 miles with single track, which was what I found appealing. And then the rest of it, you're going to go through like the West Desert, and you're going to see just like different types of landscapes and stuff. I think the course is about 800 miles, but...
Can we talk for a second about the emails from Jackie Baker? How wonderful the corporate speak is.
Yeah, it's funny. Especially if you work in corporate
Oh my
world,
God.
it's pretty funny.
Yeah. Do you work in a corporate world or corporate kind of?
To a degree, it's
Okay.
an ESOP, so it's like, they aren't as corporate speaky as like a mega corporation. You do feel like they actually care a little bit more. I mean, it's still a business, but
Yeah. It's so great. It's like we're having our annual conference, and please sign up, and you can either sign up for the Jello salad route or the funeral potato.
Yeah, funeral potato is the long one. I don't know
whatever.
where she got the names for those either, if they're trail names or...
I don't know.
What?
The whole concept is just hilarious. And I heard, it was like somewhat in an effort to kind of keep it under the radar a little bit, to kind of anonymize it a little bit.
I was wondering about that. I've never asked her
Yeah.
like where that came from, because Tim Tate ran that event first for the first few years.
Sure.
And he didn't do that, so I was like, where did she get this?
It was hilarious. So I'm just on the email thread just to read the corporate.
Oh yeah, I haven't like kicked myself off it either. But yeah, that was a plan for. I even took off work already and stuff, but I'm not going to do that now because I was like, oh, why am I going to go push through the desert again when I'd rather just go, find a cool hike or something. And then I got accepted for TTW, which is the Tour Te Waipanamu in New Zealand, and I'd signed up for that one because we went to New Zealand this last year, Scott and I did, and I'd never been. And it's such a beautiful place and there's so much to see. So a lot of times when I do races that are out of the country, it's because I get to see a lot of that country quickly, and it kind of gives me an idea of I want to revisit these places and explore them more.
Yeah.
But even for that, I was just like, we're going to go back anyways this coming year. Instead of doing a race where I'm like pushing myself hard for several days by myself, long days, long nights, just get our friends together and, go do a 2-nighter or something.
Yeah.
So,
I've been trying to do more party pace trips. The problem I'm finding is like when you get your friends together, a lot, so often you're very different paces and you have different lives that have different training routines. And so it's hard to like sometimes do a multi-day trip and not make somebody feel like they're slow, like not on purpose, but so I, over the years I've experimented with different sort of like we don't all stay together. We just have pre-planned campsites and we can kind of ride at our own pacing, and we just all agree we're going to, stage style almost, where you do a thing, a group ride. And it's because sometimes like if you're in training mode, like I'm in, and some of my good friends like aren't training at all, you get very far apart as far as your pacing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just one person's been putting a lot of time in, and there's a natural gain there. But like, it brings me back to this, idea of like my life with my wife has become, we don't go on vacation anymore. We go to places to do races,
Yep.
and then we're totally half-baked and screwed up and swollen ankles when we come back, and we're like attempting to struggle through work, and we're basically hungover for like 5 days.
Yep.
And we're attempting to like write emails about important stuff. You know what I mean? And make like financial decisions.
Have you sent any emails where you look back and you're like, whoa, they'd probably think I'm drunk at work or something?
So there was only one time that I sent an email, and I just like I was supposed to send it to one vendor and I sent it to a different vendor and it was like a signed estimate. And so it was kind of bad because I was like sending the wrong estimate to the wrong person. It was an honest mistake, but like I knew I was kind of like in the brain fog phase and I probably should have just been taking some time off. So then I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is for however long the event is, I'm going to take that many days off of work following the event so that I have plenty of time to recover and I feel great when I go back, right? And I tried that. So like Arizona Trail 300, it's like 4 days or 5 days or something. I'm going to take like 4 days off after that. And then I start looking at my calendar and I start looking at events and I start like shaving down stuff. And I'm like, well, I could go back, at this time just so I could keep, continue to conserve the vacation time so that I'll have it for this event down the road, and then and it just all went out the window at that point. Right. And I'm just like, but I was the type of guy that when I was a party animal, I would show up to work after partying all night long and just struggle through work hungover, like just like an idiot.
Just make it happen.
Just sick, hungover, whatever, didn't matter. I was gonna make it work, right? Because I was tough. I was a tough guy.
Yeah.
Which is just fucking stupid.
Open up a can of man and get through the day.
Yeah, like what? I don't know why, and I've slowly tried to like reprogram myself from that because like I'm not an effective employee when I'm like that. Like I'm not making good decisions. I'm not at my peak performance level, right? I need to give myself some time. But back to the vacation thing. I kind of feel too like this. Every once in a while, I just want like a vacation that like normal people do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like for nothing. There's no plans. I did that when we went to New Zealand this last year. I think I took just a full week off at one point. Maybe it was 2 weeks. And we just traveled about and went to the beach and went on a pack rafting trip. And it feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you actually go back to work feeling like you had a vacation versus that mental struggle.
I know a lot of people that when they're on vacation, they want to pack in as much stuff as possible too. I had my aunt and uncle, when I was a kid, used to do that. Like we would go with them on vacation and it was just like, we're going here and then we're going here and we're going to wake up at 4:00 in the morning and we're going to get all these things done. And we're going to hammer until 10:30 at night and then we're going to get up and we're going to do it all over again for 5 days.
Got a schedule to keep.
Yeah. And you would be exhausted when you were done.
Yeah. No, I don't like that type of vacation at all.
And then Jess and I went to Peru in 2019 and we used like a online booking agency and we said, here's our budget. Here's kind of what we want to do. And here's how many days we're going to be out for. And they kind of built a routine of activities around that. And it was awesome.
They made it chill enough where you weren't running.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And you could kind of like scale how much stuff you wanted to pack in, based on your own personality and what you needed from your vacation.
Oh, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah. So, but ever since then, it's just been like balls to the wall. We're doing events.
Yeah.
Oh. Now, on your vacation time, are you able to make it work so that you can use like paid vacation, or do you take like paid time off to go on some of these big things?
I've definitely taken vacations for longer events where I've had just like 3 weeks of paid time off and then I've just had to eat a week or something. Like I did Italy Divide last year and I want to say I took 5 weeks off and only 3 or 4 of those were paid.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But mine builds up pretty quickly and then my company does sick/wellness leave now. They've changed it. So you can use the sick days as mental health days.
Right.
So like that's what I did at the front end of this for Thursday, Friday. I just put in mental wellness days. So I've got 60 hours of actual vacation time and then like another 60 at this point of like sick wellness time. So I kind of try and use from both buckets.
Yeah, they can't really ask what you're taking your sick time for.
Yeah.
Like certain places, like I'm at NAU and they can't, you can't ask. That's not okay to be like, why are you taking the sick time?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to take sick time. No, that's like hands off,
That's interesting to hear. And it makes sense. I've definitely worked for companies before where they're like, well, you can't use sick time for this because I know you're on vacation. And it's like, well, I don't have any vacation, but I've got all the sick time I'm never going to use.
Yeah, well, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
but
now with like
there's
sick wellness.
yeah, there's some gray areas that people definitely take advantage of.
Yeah. Well, once I figured out like that with when they said you can't use sick time for vacation, I would just like put in sick time and be like,
yeah,
I would not say a word, and they approve it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the company I'm currently at, I really like for that reason, that they have recognized that a lot of people build up sick hours and just don't get sick.
Right. And it rolls.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a cap at some point, but I just don't let it grow too much.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Squirrel's Nut Butter. They make adventure anti-chafe lube and healthy, organic, restorative skin salve. I don't leave home without it when I go on an adventure. I think it's the best in the business, and I am proud to be an ambassador. So check them out at squirrelsnutbutter.com and use my code ENDURANCE20, all caps, for 20% off. Yeah. So when was the moment you decided to... Tell me about the moment you decided to go van life. What was the catalyst? Was there a catalyst?
Oh, yeah. So there was, it was a couple years in the making. The guy I was dating at the time and I had thought it would be fun to sail, like do live aboard sailing. And I think he'd been looking at like land mobile living first. And I got really into like sailing stuff. So I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to do a sailboat instead. And so we were looking at that together. And eventually we broke up, and I was like still looking at stuff, like the pandemic started. Well, I guess we were actually still together at this point. The pandemic started, and I was like, I'm not going to like jet set to look at boats coast to coast. We don't know what this is, So then I was like, well, I'll just look at land stuff instead. So I started we were looking together at like trailers, RVs, and then we eventually broke up. And so I was just like, well, I need something smaller, and ended up eventually with the van, which has worked out perfectly. But yeah, it was the reason I'm in a van is because of the pandemic, basically. Or I think else I would have ended up with a boat, like on a coast somewhere. Whether it would have been starting with a houseboat or a sailboat.
Whoa.
Yeah.
There's a dude.
I'd still love to sail eventually.
There's a dude on Instagram, or I get like his YouTube live feed every once in a while, and it's just a dude sailing. I think he sold everything, and he's got like cats, and he just live streams him in his boat doing these whatever around the world or wherever he's doing, right? And it's just like him on the inside of his boat cooking.
How fun.
And he's live streaming the whole thing, and there's cats running around, and like I don't know, I have not spent a lot of time around boats, and the first thing I saw was like that the stove is on like auto levelers.
Yep.
So he's like, which
You're
was
cooking
like,
it and it stays flat, but yeah, it's all like
fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh, did you watch that documentary on that submersible that imploded?
Yes. That was fascinating. So there was a guy who commented on it. I forget his name, but I think he might be off the coast of Guatemala or something, that does do submersible stuff. And he's gone down he spent the most time at depth than anyone in the world. And he hand built his own submersible. Because I think he commented on the one that imploded, and he was just like, when I looked at this, I told the guy that it's just not a great idea with the carbon fiber.
Yeah. So, and I didn't realize that was the main issue.
Yeah.
The hull was made out of carbon fiber, where every other submersible is made out of like titanium or some sort of like other sort of stronger material. And the reason why they made it out of carbon fiber was it was cheaper to produce, and it was cheaper to transport. Because this guy that I forget the name of the company.
So do I. Yeah.
But so he was trying to like scale this business.
Yep.
He wanted to make it like a tourism business, like seeing the Titanic specifically, and sending people down to see the Titanic. And the only way to make that like financially viable was to make the hull out of carbon fiber. And they fucking... Dude, like the sounds.
Oh, that's terrifying. Yeah, for people listening who haven't watched this documentary, do you remember what it was called? It's on Netflix.
Yeah,
so
I'll have to look it up.
Like as they are going down.
Spoiler alert.
They'll show this graph of like the pops happening, and all these pops are the carbon fiber like cracking,
like microfracturing.
And so you see this graph of it like pop, 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 and it's like super loud. I was watching it while I worked, and I was just like, oh.
Dude, it is so like tension building. So because they had mics all around the inside of the thing.
Yeah.
And you could see every trip that they went on, the pops got louder.
Yes.
Because the thing was basically the internal structure was failing slowly.
Yeah.
Like the slowest, most painful death, basically how it ended up. But yeah, and then they like, there was tons of internal whistleblowers. There was like people saying like, this is not okay. Mm-hmm. And the guy that was in charge was just like a maniac. Now, the thing that was interesting about him was he went down in it and tested the first one himself. He believed his own bullshit so deeply that he was willing to like sacrifice himself for this like vision that he had. Because he wanted to be one of these like big dick swinging like billionaire type characters. He wanted to be like the Elon Musk or the Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, when they first said that in the documentary, I was like, oh, they're just making some, like assumption or judgment about him. But then they actually show like he made comments that he talked about big dick swingers and how he wanted to be
that was like
one.
a quote from him.
But yeah, that was he actually said that he wanted to be known for that.
Yeah.
Which I guess if that's a driving force in your head, you're willing to look past safety concerns to make something happen.
For himself.
Yeah,
he was the first one. He was like, I'll go down in it. And he went beyond the places where they thought the depths it could go to. And the thing was like, he's like, oh, the carbon fiber is, what do they call it? What is it? Oh, seasoning. It's seasoning.
Seasoning. Is that the term used?
That's what he said.
That's terrible.
Seasoning, like it's like a cast iron pan or something.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be seasoned. And it's like, dude, that thing's going to kill you, all of you. And so they went on like 3 or 4 or 5 trips and brought like celebrities down there. Mm-hmm. And then finally on that last trip is when the hull basically, and they kept reusing the same hull. And it basically like, that was it. It imploded. Yeah. It was so crazy.
It's so sad too when you watch it and like, see what happened in the end. I wish I could remember the name of the guy who actually does the deep dives. Would you ever go on like his submarine?
You mean, the guy from Guatemala?
I think it's the coast of Guatemala. Yeah. I'm not positive. Don't quote me on it.
No, I think I'd probably just go on the Disneyland ride is about as deep as I'm going. You know what I'm talking about? It's like 6 inches.
I don't know. The idea of being tens of thousands of meters or whatever underwater and seeing all those like creatures,
you're into
the
that?
bioluminescence and stuff, I think it would be cool.
Fuck that.
Are you familiar with the book Deep by James Nestor?
No.
It's about free diving, and he goes on this submarine with this guy. And so it's like him and a buddy, and they're both over 6 feet tall. And he said they were like crunched up in the very front of this thing. And then the guy who operates it stands behind them, and he's operating it with his little control and stuff. So I guess it's very uncomfortable. It takes like 4 hours to go down and up.
Whoa.
And so, I mean, you don't have a bathroom or food or anything like that. But
yeah,
if it blew, like burst at a seam or whatever, I mean, you wouldn't even know. You would just be dead with that pressure so fast. So I guess that's kind of the reason why I was like, man, I would probably do that.
Because
if you die, it's like you're just gone. You don't even know.
Right. Because it implodes faster than you can even process that it's imploding. Yeah. Basically. No,
crushed.
I would never do that shit. So when I was a little kid, I watched the movie The Abyss.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's a classic, semi-cool, deep water movie where these people go down. Another spoiler alert, but this is like a 1980s movie. They're like deep water explorers, and they find this like alien species underwater, basically. That's like an intelligent alien species. And they are interacting with it, and it's not like a horror movie, necessarily, but it was like a real fantastical it was like a real impactful movie for me when I was a little kid. I watched Terminator 2 and The Abyss around the same time. And both those movies are like so locked in, and then like, okay, the apocalypse is coming. Like the AI apocalypse is definitely coming with Skynet. And there's definitely aliens under the ocean. Like those two things are like more true now than ever, right?
That's hilarious.
But I think it's just my, frequency illusion that I have where I've got those things locked in. But no, I wouldn't do that stuff, man. I wouldn't even go like in the ocean when I was in Hawaii like a year ago. On a family vacation.
Just like wading in from the beach?
Yeah, I went like knee deep. And I used to be cool with the ocean, but as you get older, or as people get older, I think like, I don't know, they seem to take less risks. Most people. They become more risk averse.
I wonder if that is actually a thing, like if there are stats on that, or
I think people have more investment, like in families, and like we don't have kids, but like I would imagine once you have kids, your level of risk you're willing to take goes way down because you're now a provider.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm pretty sure that's
I'd buy that.
directly correlated. But you would take risk to like protect your children, right? In another sense, you would take great risk to do that. So I didn't even want to go because I'm like the things in the ocean. Like I am such a weak, like 2-dimensional swimming thing in the ocean, and everything else is bigger, heavier, more aggressive, like terrifying and 3-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
wants to eat you.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll deal with the bears, the black bears.
Yeah,
like at
they're
least
typically easy. They run.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, I'm not much for the ocean anymore. So, but that's interesting that you were like, I'm gonna go sailing. Like where did this come from? This adventurous. Where did your parents take you outside a lot? Where did
I don't know. Well, yeah, we grew up in a rural area, Cornell, Wisconsin. It's like northwestern Wisconsin. Town of 1,400 people about, and we grew up across the street from state parkland. So we were always in the woods, us kids. And I think, my parents probably told us a lot, like, go play outside. And I do remember when we were young, like we kind of checked in at dinner and stuff like that. But I remember us going out like way into the dark of the night and playing like Ghost in the Graveyard with neighbor kids in the woods and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess that could have fostered like an explorative spirit and stuff. And ironically, like where did the sailing thing come from? I have one memory from when I was a kid where my older brother and I are like looking out the window in the kitchen and we're talking about what we want to be when we grow up. And he said he wanted to be the Easter Bunny. And I said I wanted to be a sailboat. So he has kids, so he got to be the Easter Bunny. I will never be a sailboat, but I'd still love to go on a sailboat. I mean, I took one sailing class, and I think at this point, I'll probably wait till I get back into it again, because that's also something I can do when I'm older. I was thinking recently, like reassessing, what are things that I want to do now that I need to do while I'm still young and fit? And what could I push back a little bit that I could do when I'm older? And I think there are things that I'd like to do now, like just like trips, hikes and stuff I want to go on that I should probably do now, and I could sail in, like a decade or something.
Totally.
Plus, there's also like the cost of a boat. You can get a really good monohull sailboat that's like turnkey for like $35,000, so it's like the price of a car.
Right.
And there's just like a storage fee. So I thought about buying something and keeping it like on the coast or something, like, or at a nice big lake in Texas, or Oklahoma actually has the largest or the highest number of like shoreline miles, because all their lakes are kind of like, so they have a lot of really good marinas and stuff. But then there would be a docking fee. So I was like, I still have some student loans. Maybe when I pay that off, I could get a boat, store it somewhere, and replace my student loan payment with like a marina fee or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, the ocean is so like unforgiving though.
It is. Yeah. I used to have a desire to do an Atlantic crossing. There's a kind of a time of year where people will like en masse like go to Europe, and then they come back to the States. So I felt like comfort in the idea that there would be other people out there sailing, even if you're like, miles apart or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the risk averse thing as you get older, but it would be cool maybe to buy a boat in like Greece or something, so it's there, and then fly over there and then spend a few years putzing around like the European coast or something.
Seems pretty romantic sounding.
It does sound romantic, yeah.
And
with Starlink, can work from anywhere.
It's a freaking game changer.
It really is.
Alone, it's a balance, like to be able to work and have like this like jet setting life sort of thing. Like it's difficult, and I've found this with bikepacking to have the time to dedicate to all of these things that I want to do, right? So I want to work to make money. I want to do races and do well in races. And I want to do this podcast, right? Those three things are very difficult to all do at the same time. right? It takes a lot of energy. And sometimes I have to put more energy into one than into the other. So like if I'm really training heavy on a race, I can't really do all three of the things at the same time.
Yeah.
So I have to like back off the podcast and focus on the work, right? Something has to be sacrificed in that trifecta, right?
It's great that you realize that. I think a lot of people try to do all the things that they want to do without realizing, like you said, you only have so much life energy to like put towards things, and sometimes you got to prioritize one over the other.
Yeah. And also, like you said before, prioritize which thing you want to do, like strategically based off your fitness and your health and your age.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few races for me, like Arizona Trail Race, that I want to do before the next few years. This year was going to be the year.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what will happen with the North Kaibab fire. We know right now that North Kaibab Trail, North Kaibab, so from Phantom Ranch to the Rim is closed for the rest of the calendar year. And that's
a certainty, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's National Park Service said that. And the reason why, fun fact, well, not so fun. So the reason why that fire kind of went nuts was because the fire on the North Kaibab, which like is international news now, got into some facility and released a bunch of chlorine gas down into the canyon.
No way.
And all around the area. So they couldn't drop the fire retardant.
Okay.
Because it interacts with the chlorine gas. So they couldn't like manage the fire like they normally would, which is why it went out of control and ended up burning down like most of the structures.
Okay, that's really interesting to hear, because when I first heard about the fire, I looked it up, like an article on Arizona Central, and all that it said at that time was that the fire started lightning strike 4th of July, I believe, and they decided to treat it as a controlled burn, and then on the what was it, like the 10th or 11th, there were big winds that made it spread.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, oh, shoot. So
Right.
the way that was presented makes it sound like mismanagement. Like, why would you treat it as a controlled burn? And then also, wouldn't you know, there were like broadcasted or forecasted winds coming.
Right.
So knowing that they couldn't even drop the fire retardant because of that chlorine gas is really helpful.
And that all came after. Like what you said was true, but they did kind of clickbait that a little bit, it sounds like.
And I also just looked up the one article on
Yeah.
AZ Central, so I didn't dig too deeply into it. I was just like, oh, was this a camper that started it on accident, or was it lightning
Right.
strike or whatever?
And the chlorine gas they use to treat the water that they use for all of the inner canyon. So like all the water spigots are all like treated with that chlorine gas. So there was a leak like a year ago or something, and it closed it for a couple days. So it's been like a chronic thing. But this basically released it all down in, and they had to close the whole area because you can't have like chlorine gas. I think it settles. I think it's the same gas they like used in like World War II or World War I.
Oh, wow.
You know, like the chemical warfare style chlorine gas. So you can't be having people down there. And so they closed everything, and for sure, like everything on the rim is going to be impassable. It's like a war zone up there now. You know what I mean? They can't be like sending through hikers or bikepackers through there. So that kind of killed the whole AZT for me. John Schilling hasn't officially released anything, but I'm assuming there's going to be something, a reroute or a significant reroute, because the North Kaibab section may be open. But on our run and ride, it was definitely kind of, the word I used to keep describing it was wild, because I didn't know how to process the feelings of something like this, like a wildfire that's like this devastating, and that so many people are heartbroken about, because it's like not just a scarred earth, it's also a very special place to like so many people on the North Rim.
Mm-hmm. Or sacred for Native Americans in the area.
Yep. And I mean, we could see the smoke.
Yeah, I definitely knew I was heading in the right direction.
Yeah. And we could see the flames at night.
Yeah, that was, I've seen like fires up close before, that like right on a hillside, basically off the side of the road at night. And it's like, it's almost in a weird way, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting. But this one from a distance, it was just kind of like a glow. I actually thought it was moonrise at one point, and then realized, no, that's the fire.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really settles in you then, like, wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, it's weird. My wife gets super bummed out,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and I get kind of like, I'm not bummed because I would have been like upset if it was human caused. You get upset when it's somebody doing something stupid.
Yeah. Like an extra unnecessary fire added to what we already experienced.
Yeah. Like there was a guy that, I mean, all this Schultz area burned right near us here. Viewers can't see it, but because there was an unhoused guy lighting toilet paper on fire,
Oh, man.
you know? And it's
Yeah,
like,
that's rough, especially if did that destroy anyone's houses and stuff, or was it?
I think they saved
Just-
a lot of, I think they saved the houses, but it
Good.
destroyed, you know what it did do? Sorry. It destroyed houses in flooding later on.
Oh.
The year later, the flooding was like
Oh, gosh.
horrific, and it destroyed, I mean, it did millions of dollars in damage in houses for sure in flooding,
Yeah.
not burning down. And that's the crazy thing about here is it just, and I'm sure other places, but I only know this place, and it's the flooding is usually the big concern like a year or two later, because it just, all that stuff just comes downstream.
Yep.
So so tell me about like your, did you have like a worse moment on this duathlon? Do you have like a really low point?
No, I don't think it was long enough to have a low point.
Have you, like,
And-
you've had to have low points before in races, right?
Oh, yeah. I think like getting overtired
Yeah.
is what does it to me. So like I didn't like sleep up on myself on this. It's just something I don't do anymore. Not healthy for you, and I just can't do it.
So why
But
did you do it before? Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, so when I first started doing these events, it was all about finishing. Like, I just want to finish this thing. Then it became, can I improve my cycling skills and go faster? Then it's like, well, now what do I do to improve my time? I can try and sleep deprive myself and do like the 3 to 4 hour a night thing. And I did that for like, I think both UMEs, and that was pretty much it. I was like, screw that. That's just terrible.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm super tired right now because of the event. I slept like crap last night. So now I don't even remember what your question was.
I don't remember what my question was either. I keep going down rabbit holes.
We're both a little out of it, folks. Sorry.
So
We're a little wackadoo.
I don't sleep well also after these things. I get like my feet like twitch, they like go like this, and I get like these nerve shocks.
No way.
Yeah, so I had horrific nerve pain in my feet, and then like my feet will like jitter, and it's like a lightning bolt that goes through my toe and like up my leg. Do you get stuff like that?
No,
when you
I
sleep?
don't. Not at all. Like I have like my feet are a little swollen, so I've got just like that pressure pain, but that's it.
Yeah.
But I kind of remember now you were asking about low points.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I was saying that it wasn't really long enough to have one. But I think it's sleep deprivation that has given me low points in other events, because when you're sleep deprived, you have a harder time controlling your emotions. And so I think things that are minor inconveniences might seem like a bigger deal. I mean, I typically have never had like great frustration over mechanicals and stuff, because I do like problem solving. So it's kind of like, oh shoot, how do I fix this to keep moving forward? For me, it'll become missing people. I'm like, oh, I miss so-and-so, and then I might cry a little bit. Or I'll get happy about the prospect of like, oh, I'm going to finish soon, and like, what a great accomplishment, and I'll cry a little bit because like zero emotional control. But yeah, I think since I didn't sleep deprive myself and it was a relatively short event, I just didn't have that opportunity to get super frustrated.
Yeah.
I mean, the heat was hard to deal with, and I wasn't heat acclimated going into it. So I guess that was kind of like oh my God, I feel like I'm trudging so slowly through this heat on foot. But the fact that I was even able to do the foot portion, I was so happy at that even the heat couldn't get me down. I used to try to run, and I think it was something with like my gait pattern that would cause like knee and hip issues. So if I ran more than 2 to 7 miles, and this would even include jogging, I would get intense pain, especially in my right knee. And I tried to treat it for like 10 years as like IT band syndrome. It turned out like my peroneals were like really tight too. But I think it all stemmed from how I would like foot strike. And so I tried different shoes, different insoles, saw the Shoe Dog, saw PT and all this stuff, and could like never really run. So fast forward like 15 years through all of that, I'd started wearing these toe shoes, like minimalist toe shoes, this last year for hiking because I read that this type of shoe gives you like a better foot feel, and then since you can like move your toes individually, you're better at like gripping rocks and stuff. And I have a tendency to roll my ankles like every time I hike. I just wear like trail runners, but this would happen in hiking boots and stuff too. And so I'd started wearing these minimalist toe shoes, and I was just like astounded at I never rolled my ankles anymore, and my feet felt great. But even trying to jog a little bit, my legs didn't get sore like they did. And I think it's because with that type of shoe, since there's so much ground feel, any like problem with your foot strike, your body kind of like senses it and like you autocorrect. Whereas with like shoes with thicker soles, it's kind of masking what you're doing wrong. At least this is the idea behind it that I read. And so I was kind of like in my head, I was like, all right, I'm going to try this thing. I'm going to try and go 100 miles on foot. Odds are like 10 miles in, I'm going to have so much pain that I'm going to have to turn around. I brought a little foam roller with me. I'm going to have to like foam roll my legs, stretch a lot, and just make my way back to the bike and bike pack back to Flagstaff. And with these shoes, I didn't have to use the foam roller. I used it like preventatively, like each night.
Yeah.
But amazingly, I did not get like the knee and hip pain that I normally do. And that's the only thing I've changed. So I've got to attribute it to those shoes and that foot feel and stuff. So I think I was just so happy that I was able to successfully like move down the trail at the speed I was, like jogging occasionally and just like speed hiking, walking with a purpose, that I kind of felt like nothing could get me down. So maybe that's also why I didn't really have a down moment, because I was just like, I'm able to do this.
Something worked.
It felt so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are they like Vibram 5 fingers, or are they?
No,
like
the brand name is Paluva.
Okay.
I don't know how they differ from Vibram 5 fingers. I heard about them because the guy who sells them, Mark Sisson, I believe is his name, he was an ultra endurance athlete.
Yeah.
I think he ran like long distance. I think he did Olympic stuff. He was, I think, 4th place finisher world's triathlete for Ironman. And after all of his years of ultra running and everything, he's decided that the like born to run idea is BS, and that most of us, like only like 2% of people have bodies that are like really like built to run. And then like, I don't know if people have read the Born to Run book, a big part of it is like the Tarahumara people like run barefoot and stuff. And it's like this example of, look, we're born to be able to do this. And I think his idea is like, well, they culturally like wear minimalist shoes or no shoes, and they culturally run from a young age. Really, we're born to walk. So he wrote a book called Born to Walk, and he argues back that we're born to walk, but only meant to like run and sprint occasionally for like the food procurement and stuff. And so I read that, made sense to me. And of course, he's selling his shoes with this idea in mind, and like saying why the minimalist shoes are like better for arch development and things like that. And
Interesting.
I bought it hook, line, and sinker,
You did?
and my God, did it work for me. I mean, it like life-changing. Even dumb things I never thought about. Like I have a wicked bunion on my left foot, and my toe was starting to twist. I was having such pain all the time that I'd wear a little foot brace every day to like kind of like pull the toes apart. And I got these shoes and I started wearing them. And I realized like a week later that I didn't have the foot pain anymore, and I didn't have to use the foot brace, because in wearing the shoes, it was like constantly wearing toe spacers. And my toe has almost completely untwisted. I mean, I still have the bunion because I think there's no getting rid of that, maybe without surgery, but it doesn't hurt anymore. And
if it works.
Yeah, if it works, it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
they're certainly not for everyone. And I think I had a good transition to them because I tend to be in flip-flops, barefoot, or with like zero drop shoes. Like I use Ultra Lone Peaks for cycling and stuff. So I had an easy transition. It didn't like hurt my feet. But if you normally wear cushy shoes and you want to try something like this, like start slowly.
Yep. And that was my problem when I was on the first train of the Vibram 5 fingers.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. The first like hype train. And I just thought I could put them on and run like, you know, I was an indigenous person, you know, been doing it forever, and I hurt myself.
Oh man.
What
was your hurt like? Like what happened?
It was my toes. My toe, like I did something with my werewolf toe here that created a pain all the way up.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, like all the way up the foot that lasted like years. I never did anything about it at that time other than I just took the shoes off. And I started in ultras, like zero drops, when I got back into running. and it just destroyed my calves. Like the first few times I was just like, I can't, this is going to take a while to get used to 'em.
Yeah.
And I got used to them. And then I switched to Hoka's, which have like a 4 mil drop. And I was like, this is better.
Yeah, they feel good for you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, we got to find what works for ourselves.
Exactly. This is all so personalized.
Yep.
You know, like all this shit. Shoes, saddles, nutrition. Dude, nutrition is like the biggest black hole.
It is, yeah. People get really dogmatic about all these things. Like, what works for me isn't going to work for you.
Yeah.
And nutrition is the hard one because there really is. I mean, aside from, I think maybe the only hard and fast rule you could really go by is like eat less ultra processed foods and eat more whole foods.
Right.
But when it comes down to like, you know, veganism versus carnivorism and stuff, like you can really get into some dogmatic black holes there.
Yeah. And people are all different and they're going to respond differently to different types of food. You
Yeah.
know?
Some people do really well on keto, especially for a short period of time. And it's like really helpful for their health. And other people, it's like, there's no point. It's not.
Yep. And I mean, during events specifically, like, did you get your root beer craving in Tusayan?
Oh my God, I did. Yeah. So when I went to scout bike drop locations a couple days before the event, I stopped at Texaco and realized they had like bottles of sarsaparilla and cream soda with the cane sugar. Oh my God, so good. So that was what I was like dreaming about my whole way north. I was like, I'm gonna get.
Did you have any other cravings?
Beer. No, not really. I think that also too, just because it was short enough where I didn't have time to develop that craving.
At the top of Snowball, it was the second night. I was on the foot return, and I don't know, it was 2:00 in the morning or something, and I had only slept like 4 hours up to this point in total, and I was just like laying on a rock, because the cool thing about running is you go slow enough that you can find a really nice place to lay down on your back.
Something flat and pine duff.
There's like plenty of opportunities to like really get precise with your, nice, not too many pokies. So I found this nice spot and I elevated my feet because I could go about 5 or 10 miles, and then I would have to elevate my feet and like let the nerve pain, like let the zaps go away. Literally my feet would just like twitch on their own for a while.
Wow.
And it felt like, they were draining or whatever. And then I would get back up and be able to run like another 5 to 10 miles or so. And I was just laying there, and it was windy, and I was just staring up at the sky, and I was just kind of thinking like, wow, it's kind of ridiculous, first of all. And second of all, I want an Italian sub. Like
from anywhere in particular, or just
like a classic Italian sub sandwich, like a 12-incher, not like a Subway piece of shit, like a good thick sub sandwich, dude. I was gonna get that, and I was gonna finish just to get that.
Nice.
There was not a lot gonna keep me from that, and I did go and get it. I got a turkey bacon ranch sub and an Italian sub, and I ate them both the next day. Dude, it was so good, and a crumble cookie, also.
Nice.
It was so good.
I guess when I was about to finish, I was trying to think of like, what am I going to treat myself to after? And it was Texas Roadhouse. Big fatty steak with the mashed potatoes with cream gravy and a salad with ranch.
You did?
I did, yeah.
I do crave like steaks.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
Oh yeah, steaks it must just be like protein thing. Like your body's like, I want some protein and carbs.
Yeah, and I can do I crave carbs for the first day or two, and then I start craving protein. Like day 4, 5, and 6. I just in like CTR, like 4, 5, and 6, I wanted protein so bad.
That's interesting because I kind of experienced that even just on this thing. Like I started with 6 pieces of Little Caesar stuffed crust pizza, and I was like, these carbs are so good and they're keeping me going. But then once I knew I was going to be, since I decided not to like do the ride into the night and bike stash and like start back at night, I was like, all right, I'm going to be able to get food in Tusayan. So I was just like, McDonald's cheeseburgers, like I was craving the hamburger patty.
Yeah, McDonald's. I tell normies, I'm like, yeah. They're like, what do you do for nutrition, bro?
Nutrition.
Like,
McDonald's.
McGriddles.
Stuff I would never eat most of the time in normal life, but it tastes so good out there.
A McGriddle, like you were saying, a cheeseburger lasts. You were saying the other day, a cheeseburger lasts, like it tastes so good 24 hours later.
48 hours later even. It's sad. Like, you know there's some preservatives in there and some garbage if it's 48 hours later and you're like, this is so good.
It's 100% the same thing with the McGriddles.
Is it?
Yeah.
And they've been baking in a pack too. Like, I had mine in the back of the pack with the sun coming down for 10 hours. That's so sad. And our guts can handle it.
They used to call this, when I grew up in Tucson, they used to call the dashboard the Mexican microwave.
Oh, yeah.
You'd put your burrito up there
Yep.
in the morning, and by lunch, because it's, 140 degrees or whatever on the dashboard,
Yep.
you'd have your cooked burrito.
So good. And I'm sure the foil helps. Yeah, we did that too. Yep.
Yeah. So, but I did actually use, my strategy on this one was to try these gels. And I'm not a big gel guy, but I've kind of been like experimenting with different gels, and Morton's I was experimenting with, and there's all this like rave and everybody's talking about Morton's.
What's Morton's?
It's just like a really high-end expensive gel that they have really good marketing. And I just wanted to see if they actually have something different in them, if there's something unique about Morton's that's not in the it's not just like a marketing scam thing, But I didn't try Morton's. I didn't have enough money to afford 5,000 calories of Morton's because they're like $4 a gel.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
it's like $4 for 160 calories.
Oh, that seems like a lot for
It's a lot of money.
calories too.
So I ended up using this brand called Carbs. It's just called Carbs. And we have three flavors: salted, caffeine, and regular.
I love the name. You're like, what you're getting.
And they're 200 calories. They're 50 grams of carbs per. So basically the plan was like I could bring one for every hour. And I thought it would be, for the amount of distance that I wanted to cover, it would be the most compact way to get, they're the most dense way to get carbs. And they are safe and consistent. Because I've had like you eat enough Mexican microwave burritos, and every once in a while, it's not going to go so good. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So these are pretty consistent. And for this, it was a good way to experiment with this because there was not a good place other than Tusayan. I picked up some calories in Tusayan to get me back to the cache, but then I had like all of the gels cached there.
Yeah. Yeah, we should tell people about caching.
Yeah.
And we both thought of this individually. Since the route has no resupply except for Tusayan, on the way north on our bikes, we both stashed water and calories as we rode. So then when we came back, we could pick it up as we ran.
Yeah, and I thought that was a cool way of technically complicating things because there's like a variety of ways you can do that. I decided to stash everything in one spot.
You did just one?
Yeah, I just did boundary.
At boundary?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I probably regretted it because it was heavy as fuck.
Yeah.
Like it was, I basically added 3 liters of water and 3,200 calories in gels, which was like 16 gel packets, which are heavy. I added that all at once onto my vest, which already had my vest was stuffed. It had my bivvy, my escape bivvy, and my puffy jacket. And then I added all that other stuff. So I had basically brought 2 liters back to that point so that I could fill up with 3 and have a full 5 for the next section.
Yeah.
Which was, I think, about what you carried also was 5 liters.
Yeah, I usually had about 5.5, 5.
I just wanted to stop one time.
Yeah.
And just but it also, I explained to you, I was having the panic, intrusive thoughts about the ants getting into my supply.
Yeah.
Because look, I hung it in a tree, and I kind of hung it against the tree. It was like an angled tree, and I hung it against the tree, and I was like, oh, that'd be fine. But then I realized that I was kind of in a weird headspace at the time, and I realized that one of the gels had opened, and so I basically put a semi-open gel in there against a tree, and then I went, I don't know, another 20 miles, and I went to take a pee, and I put my hand up against the tree as I'm peeing, and I just see ants everywhere on the tree, and I'm and then it hit me oh shit, I just put sugar, syrupy sugar, out in the open, with all these other packets of syrupy sugar in a tree that they can access. And the ants were pretty there were some gnarly large ants out there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, they can easily eat through that packaging. And I'm going to come back and here's what I had envisioned. And I put my water underneath, like on the ground. I had envisioned they had eaten through the bag. They had eaten through most of the gels. It all fell down onto my water. And then they ate through the water containers.
What kind of water containers did you have that they could eat through?
I was using those Sawyer pouches. You know, the ones
Kind of like the platypus ones where they're like a harder, like a stiffer plasticky thing, but they fold down? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, which I know that those can be compromised pretty easy. I've
I've
worn
had to
holes in
grill
those.
tape them. Yeah. So can the ants actually eat through the gel packaging?
don't know.
Or that was just in your head?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Because that seems really unrealistic. But if you're
I mean,
sleep deprived and like worried about it, that's going to eat at your brain.
So that started 2 miles or 20 miles after, a couple hours after, and then it was there until I got back to that spot. But it kind of motivated me because like it got me to the spot, and then because I really had to find out. And I started to develop plan Bs, like what am I going to do? Because I had one gel left when I got to there.
Yeah.
It was, my planning was so precise. Like,
I'm surprised you still had that one left because when I saw you by Russell Tank, the metal version, or like right after that, you had one.
Yeah.
So you went really far with,
I had,
what was that, like another 10, 11 miles?
I had some extra, I did have some food that I bought in Tusayan, and I ate that in between seeing you. Yeah, and then I saved my gel for the last one. But I think I mean, I ate so many of those freaking gels. I must have I had 12 plus 16.
How did that feel for your stomach? Did it work well?
Fantastic.
Wow.
Not like fantastic. No farts. Like I didn't have to poop.
No gut rot?
No gut rot.
Huh.
No heartburn.
I've never tried gel, so I don't know.
Like it was, I guess the thing with those are the citric acid. You got to watch out on the citric acid because if you start consuming too much of that, it'll disrupt your whole balance in your stomach and you'll start getting acid reflux really bad.
Ooh.
So you're looking for gels that have so when you look on the ingredients list, the further up that the citric acid is listed, that means it has more of that content in it. Mm-hmm. So you want to look for something that's like lower on the list or no citric acid. And that's the thing that Morton's doesn't have is citric acid. It's one of the only gels that doesn't have citric acid.
That's interesting.
It has a different acid regulator. I forget the name of it, but because people have said that they can do that stuff all day long. But I wasn't willing to pay for it. So
does the type of sugar that's in there matter? Like I know some have like fructose or dextrose or
maltodextrin. Yeah.
Maltodextrin.
Yeah.
Like what
absolutely
kind?
matters.
What kind would be better for maintaining like a good stomach feel as you're moving?
Back to what we were saying earlier. You got to
depends on
test
the
it.
person.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's so
okay.
individualized. So fructose is from fruit, right? You can it's a synthesized version of what you get from fruit. Maltodextrin is glucose, I think. And you're just going to have if you're experimenting with gels, you just have to figure out what works. And you have to get yourself in the deep pain cave to be able to know,
Oh, okay.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
You can't just go out on a 6-mile run and try some gels and be like, okay, it'll work for 50 miles.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I'm sure you've gone through the same process with food. What kind of food you buy at Resupply.
Yeah.
So what's your go-to? Other than cheeseburgers, of course.
If there's a gas station that has fruits and stuff, I need bananas. I always want bananas. If there's a grocery store, I'll stop in and get hummus with broccoli and snow peas or something. Something feels really good about being able to eat fresh fruits and vegetables when I'm on a bike.
Totally.
And then I used to be able to do it, but I can't do bear claws and pastries and stuff or candy. I used to be able to eat the shit out of Sour Patch Kids. That's what I craved out there was candy type stuff, gummies.
Yeah.
Can't do that anymore. I did take salt tabs on this and I kind of treated those like candy. They taste good and there's a little, they're not Element. They don't have 1,000 grams or milligrams of sodium in them, but there's something. So I would pop a few of those occasionally on this, and that was a nice little treat.
Were they dissolving?
No,
or
they're just
pills?
the kind you chew.
Okay.
Yeah,
chews.
they're little chews.
Yeah. How much salt did they have? Do you remember?
I don't remember. Yeah, it's not a lot, I don't think. I don't think like you'd want to just use that for something like this when you're in the desert. I think you'd want to use like an element or something that really has a lot of sodium in it.
Yeah. I'm going to go get my sweat test next week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I'm going to try to document the whole thing.
Nice.
Because I think like more people need to know about sweat tests. Like I think it's one of the most unknown, like it was unknown for me. I can't understand how it took me 6 years, 7 years of doing this. And I didn't even know that you could do a sweat test.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
So all I know at this point is it's like, there's a company called Precision Hydration, and they're like an elite athlete supplement company, and they also do these mobile. So they have like a team of people that do these mobile sweat tests, and so you can go on to Precision Hydration's website. I have like no affiliation with them. They just are the only place in Flagstaff. There's a couple in Phoenix, a couple different companies, but this is the only place in Flagstaff that has a mobile provider that I can go and get this done. So I just looked it up. I found a place. I contacted the person. It's like a subcontractor or something that works with them. And I guess it's just like a band that you put on, and it you don't exercise. You don't have to like sweat beforehand. And it like sends an electrical signal through your pores and stimulates your sweat glands, and then somehow measures them. And apparently a person can lose anywhere between 200 milligrams and 2,000 milligrams of salt per liter of water that they consume or expel.
That's a big range.
Big range. And like, I know I sweat a lot, and I think I'm on the 1,000 to 2,000 side almost for sure. I'm almost sure of this, just off of like the anecdotal amount of stuff I have to put in. Like on the second half of this run, I didn't put in nearly enough salt. Like I needed to double. I needed to take 1,000 milligrams every 2 hours probably.
Wow.
But if you think about it, if I'm losing 1,200, let's just do an easy number. If I'm losing 1,000 milligrams per liter of water, and I'm drinking 5 liters of water in a 20-mile section, like I should have been doing it every hour.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to put in the same amount that I'm expelling, you know? And if I'm losing 1,800 or 1,500, it's even more, you know?
Yeah, this is really good stuff to know.
I am like, dude, why didn't I know this? Like, why isn't this all over with endurance athletes and endurance sports, you know? Because I think heavy sweaters, I think really this is like a key to unlocking a lot of the cramping issues I've had, and a lot of the just like I get shattered, and my fucking brain after I do these things, when I get severely dehydrated, it's like my brain is a prune inside of there. You know? And I get emotional, and I get aggressive, like I'm short-tempered, and I don't make good decisions, and it takes me like a week to re-regulate my emotions basically.
Wow.
After these things are over, you know? And I'm trying to figure out a way to like be better at this.
Yeah. Good on you to try and figure out what's going on.
It's not healthy. I know it's not healthy, but I want to keep pushing, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I have like these two conflicting things happening. And why did I sleep 3 hours on this, or 2 and then 3? I slept 5 hours. Why did I do that? I have no fucking idea why I did that. I don't know. I could have done what you did, but I can't just be at peace with that with myself for some reason.
Yeah, like we had different goals. I mean, there's definitely been times where I've wanted to sleep less and stuff, like we talked about. So
my goal was
even
like,
knowing what it does.
I know that that's a 24 to 30 hour race, running race. I know that it can be done in that amount of time. So I would just like had timed it on the way back. Like, okay, after a full 100 miles on the bike, I know I'm not going to be moving. I'll maybe be moving 16-minute miles, maybe. And then it's all about just like efficiency on the rest of the stuff, right? And I think it ended up taking like 48 hours in total for me. So it was like 36 hours or something on the run.
Wow, that's awesome.
So yeah, like I'm never doing it again though.
You're not?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, well, and like you told me before, it was kind of a redemption thing for you.
Absolutely,
because you'd tried the Stagecoach Line run before and had to drop at mile 70. So it's like you got your redemption.
Yeah.
You kicked it up a notch by making it a duathlon. So yeah.
I wanted to go big.
You went crazy fast. So yeah, what else do you have to, why would you have to do it again?
I'm not running for a while. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't know. The only thing that was cool about the running for me was you could see a lot more. There was a lot more animals. I was able to see a lot more wildlife and see the scenery a lot more, and not just like, I'm not just, gritting, like redlining through everything as fast as possible on the bike, trying not to knock my teeth out.
Yeah.
On Missouri Bill Hill.
Your nemesis?
Yeah. My boy. Do you like the running or the riding better? Or do you...
Well, I think the foot portion I enjoyed much more because I'm so used to riding. And I really liked the freedom of not having a bike to deal with. You don't have to worry about mechanicals. I was riding geared, and I'd spent most of the last couple of years riding single speed because of the simplicity of it. I like not having to worry about something breaking down.
Yeah.
But on single track especially, I can definitely ride more if I'm geared. And so it was nice to like offload that burden of, like my shifting feels weird. I don't want to try and fix it right now, which it did. And I think the only thing that I wasn't super fond of with the foot portion was I was using an Ultimate Direction. I think that's the brand name, right?
Yeah.
Ultimate Direction Fastpack 30. And I bought the men's version because it has a lot of pockets up front. The women's version does not, because women, we don't need pockets in our pants or in our backpacks or anything.
Culturally.
We don't carry things. And so I got the men's version, and the torso is too long. So I had it cinched up as much as I could, but it was riding too low on my hips. So when I was jogging, it was kind of a pain in the ass, like literally.
Yeah.
So I would definitely do it with a different pack, like
Okay.
something that was more fit to me and rode higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I liked the foot portion. I think it was the elation of being able to do it, and the simplicity of it gear wise. I loved like finding a nice camping spot and then just like rolling out my sleep kit, and then I've just got like a bag next to me or far away, because there's food in it.
Yeah.
But not having to worry about where I set the bike and how I set it up. And
Yeah, it kind of becomes like, you're like, it's kind of a thing, bike packing with the bike. It's kind of annoying after a while.
I mean, it's easy
Like
if it's like, if it's not going to be like a rainy night, you can just toss it out on the ground or whatever and go. But if there's a potential for rain, I use a rain fly, and what I do is I prop my bike up against a tree, and then I attach the rain fly to the bike and then strap it out to the ground with tent stakes and then sleep under that. So it's kind of part of it's like a tent, basically.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Use it as the poles.
I use it as the poles.
And you secure it to the tree.
Yep.
Interesting.
I just prop it up against the tree.
I've seen people like flip their bike upside down, but you have to secure the bike. That's the key.
Yeah, I don't
Secure
want
the
it falling
handlebars.
on me at night or anything like that.
Yeah, it's just, you gotta,
A little extra effort, maybe. Maybe. I've never tried it, so I don't know.
Yeah. I did get deeply into the flow state running.
Did you?
Yeah, like deep, like 4 hours went by and I didn't even know what had happened.
Wow.
And it was weird because I had a hard time transitioning from the run to the ride. Or sorry, the other way around, from the ride to the run. When I was heading into Tusayan, all I could think about was how long that 10-mile section was taking and how much longer it would take to run it back. I was just like getting in my own head about it. And then it took me, I would say, 5 or 10 miles to kind of like get the pacing down. Like, oh, this is the pace that this is going to be now. Settle in. And then it was like, I went into like the frickin' portal and I was at Grandview.
Wow.
Before I knew it. And it was like my body was forcing myself to just like stay in the flow state and just settle in, And there's something about the running with the poles and where you just get into this like rhythm.
Yeah, I could feel that. I felt it more as like a roboticness.
Yeah.
But now I could, maybe I'd call it a flow state where I was like doing an uphill climb for like an hour, and I was just very methodical, like moving myself forward. A relentless forward motion. And it felt good.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was a new experience for me. And like the noise of the poles, the click, 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 and just the repetition of everything, really, it was different than riding. The closest thing riding I could compare it to is when you're just doing a slow grinding climb and you're standing. Probably like on a single speed would have this, where you're in this rhythm.
Yeah.
you know, and you're just for hours and hours and hours, and you're just repeating the same motion over and over again for hours. Like there's something special about that.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah, it feels like
Your mind is just like letting go of everything.
Yep. You're meant to do it.
Yeah.
You know? So, hey, you want to take a quick break?
Let's do it.
Okay. This episode is brought to you by Embark Maple. It's just good energy for endurance sports. We've all been there, the dreaded bonk out on trail. And when that happens to me, I take a swig of this 100% organic and tasty maple syrup, and it brings me back to life. I'm so proud to be an ambassador and have them as a podcast sponsor. So check them out at embarkmaple.com and use my promo code EMBARK20 for 20% off. I wanted to give this to you as your congratulations.
OMG, I love Embark.
You also got some
E and B are the greatest.
squirrel's nut butter in there.
Oh, I do like squirrel's nut butter too. I remember getting that at Pinions and Pines.
It's the best. These are both podcast sponsors.
Thank you.
Yep, that's is my favorite flavor.
The elderberry?
Yeah, I love the elderberry.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I actually, when I started using Embark, I haven't had it in a while, but I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to love the elderberry. It's probably going to be so sweet. It's actually, to me, the best flavor on a bike.
I agree.
Because I feel like I need that sweetness.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. And Eric the Fox, he's doing CTR again this year.
Yes, is he going to wear his fox costume again?
I'm sure.
He's got to.
Dude. So nuts
that
funny. He did all of CTR on a rigid single speed in a fox costume.
Yeah.
What a gangster.
It takes a personality for sure. I worked Arrowhead at their checkpoint one year. I volunteered and did like the night shift.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. They're great people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Big hearts.
Yeah, they were awesome. It was a real pleasure to meet them. Have you done CTR?
No.
Have you hiked it?
No, I was thinking it would be a fun hike,
Yeah.
but then I've been told by numerous people that it's actually more fun to ride than hike.
Interesting.
I was thinking it was going to be the opposite, so maybe I would like tour that on a bike.
Yeah. You know, Liz Sampe, she attempted a dual sport sort of thing where she was going to ride all the parts that were non-wilderness and then run all the wilderness sections.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this was many years ago, but it kind of another one of those like cool, like multi-sport sort of ideas. So.
She said this idea, the Stagecoach Line 200 appealed to her. Have you decided if you're going to put this on next year so all the people who've expressed potential interest would be able to do it?
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to do it myself, but I wanted to like do it so I knew what I was sending everybody off to do themselves, you know?
That's cool.
Yeah, like that's like super important if you're I think if you're a race director, you got to be in the sufferfest with the people.
Yeah, I think trail ground proofing.
Yeah, yep.
Is a great idea.
I wanted to understand like how reliable are these water sources, you know? This is an extremely remote section that can get hot. You can get really screwed. It takes like an hour and a half on a dirt road, flying on a dirt road just to get to boundary. It's so remote.
Yeah.
It's so remote.
Which is some of the appeal of it. But yes, it does make things more difficult. So.
But yeah, I think for sure I will run it next year.
Cool.
And if people will do it, for sure, I would love to send them off on it.
Yeah. Oh, there are some people out there that I think would really enjoy it and that would just crush the course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of, yeah. So, you know, I don't want to like take any, I think this is important to say, the paid race, the Stagecoach Line 100, which is the foot race and the bike race, that's in September, and that does support the Arizona Trail, also the ATA. So I don't want to take anything away from that. Like that's a great event for people to do, but it is a paid event, and so the idea here was like a bigger, longer, more self-supported version of that, right? It kind of, in my mind, has its own kind of like place in our sport, you know, in a very special section of the Arizona Trail for me. I mean, that bit from Snowbowl down to whatever that forest road is on the north side of Snowbowl, I think that's the best section of Arizona Trail in all of Arizona.
Oh, wow.
like that, the section where I saw the bear,
Uh-huh.
I love that section, both directions. Like,
It is a nice section.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I love it coming up. I loved it coming up on foot. Like, I love it. I think it's the best. So yeah, I think for sure I'll probably create a Strava group for it, and promote it next year as we get more people. I just wanted to see if it was like, I don't know, doable. And I know it's doable because people do through hikes all the time on foot coming back. So I knew that was possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, so I have an in the news question for you.
In the news.
Yeah. The Olympics just followed I don't know if you heard this, the Olympics, they kind of followed the path of the NCAA, and they basically barred transgender women from competing in women's sports in the Olympics.
Okay.
So this is sort of a big, like, they basically said that this was, they were following the executive order, Trump's executive order, because they are a federal organization. I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on this whole topic in general, and in women's sports and transgender athletes and integrity of competition and stuff like this. Kind of, in general, sport-wise, I know it's kind of a touchy topic, but like, as a woman in the sport, what are your thoughts on this with competition, with being competitive and having transgender female athletes compete in women's categories?
I think in discussing that question, it's helpful to first consider why there are men's and women's divisions in sports. And I'm certainly no expert on, is it Title IX?
Yeah, Title IX.
But the basis behind having like a separate women's division is because there are physiological differences between biological men and women that often give men an advantage over women in sports. There are actually a couple of examples where women can perform better than men that we can touch on, because I don't think those get discussed enough. But so, for example, like, let's just say we're talking about muscle strength. So if you and I had like a core sample of a muscle taken, we would see that there is like virtually the same percentage of type 1, like, is it slow twitch?
Yeah.
Is type 1?
I don't know.
No. Do you care if I look this up really quick?
No, it's fine.
Yeah, because I want to make sure that we're actually.
Hey, Jamie, pull it up. I don't have a producer.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be hilarious? You need a Jamie.
That's the only thing I'm missing. Yeah, we should get this right for sure.
Okay, so type 1 fibers are the aerobic fibers. So men and women have virtually like the same percentage of type 1 fibers and type 2 fibers. But in women, our largest muscle fibers tend to be the type 1 aerobic fibers. And men, the largest fibers tend to be the type 2 anaerobic, the fast twitch fibers.
Okay.
So what this results in is that men have more power, like with the fast twitch fibers. I think that is like the driving force behind it. So when we look at like just raw muscle strength, a woman is typically going to have, depending on like the study, the range that's reported is 40 to 75% the strength of a man. And if you have, like, we can close that gap a little bit. If you're like a well-trained woman, like you've strength trained a lot,
yeah,
you can get to about 70% the upper body strength of a man and 80% the lower body strength of a man. But we're not going to, especially if we're talking about like well-trained men and well-trained women, like we're not going to be equal. So when it comes to sports where raw strength matters, I think it's very important that we have separate men's and women's divisions. So say you have powerlifting. I remember it was either in 23 or 24, I was reading about there's a trans woman athlete that was a powerlifter, or is still a powerlifter in Canada. And she like crushed several women's records. And I think at the time that the Canadian like requirements for trans women participating or for any, anyone who's participating as a woman, they just have to identify as a woman. I know some people like try to use testosterone blockers as like a metric for whether or not trans women can participate
Right.
or how long they've identified as a female. But I think the only requirement at the time in Canada for, at least for this powerlifting, was you just have to identify as a woman. So her name is Anne Andres, I think is how her last name would be pronounced. And so she crushed all these records, and in one case set like a new national record. And so, of course, there was a lot of pushback on that because with women not being able to compete with men when it comes to raw strength, even if they are well trained, that's certainly not fair. Like, we're not comparing apples to apples there. And I think to demonstrate what he thought was kind of like the ludicrousness of like just letting anyone opt into the women's category, a guy named Avi, I forget his last name, he just identified as a woman like right before an event, and he came in and he crushed one of Anne's records by 100 pounds. So now you have this record that, and like lots of records by this one individual, and including a national record. I don't know if that's the one Avi beat or not, but who can compete for that record at this point? Only biological men.
Right.
So like you could never have a biological woman competing for records in these categories anymore. And it resulted in several women just not participating in some of these competitions if they knew Anne was participating. So I think one of the topics that comes up a lot with trans women participating in women's divisions is inclusivity. And I think that itself, could use some defining, because like to me, inclusivity just means like you're including everyone. But in the case of trans women competing in women's divisions, it's not just including everyone, because of course trans people can compete, but it seems to be like you're letting people compete in a way that matches their identity. When the categories are based on like biological sex, like physiological differences. And so you're actually discouraging in some cases, like for this powerlifting example, you're discouraging women from participating. So how inclusive is that? If inclusivity goes beyond just including people. So I think for purposes of like sports where raw strength matters, I do think there should be separations. Like there should be a women's category that is for biological women and the men's category. And combat sports is another one. Like I don't think there should be, any mixing.
Yeah.
There are other sports for which the physiological differences also matter. In general, like biological males have larger hearts, larger lung size. So those things affect like your ability to get oxygen to your muscles. With swimming, lung size and arm span matter. And this is where one of the interesting examples comes in though. So a place where biological females actually have an advantage is open water swimming. So, and I think that the factor behind this is actually body fat percentage. So women have a higher body fat percentage. Fat is more buoyant than muscle. So you see there's a swimming race, or maybe it's not even a race, but it's just like an effort people put out where they swim to Catalina Island from the coast of California. And I think the fastest woman's time on that course is 22 minutes, about faster than the fastest men's time. And the three fastest women's times in general are like 20 minutes faster than the three fastest men's times. So that's one area where women actually have a physiological advantage, would be open water swimming, but you pull it into like a pool, so like Olympic sports and high school sports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And the lung capacity and the arm span come into play, and biological men have the advantage over women there. One other interesting area is ultra endurance sports. So especially I think running. I don't know where this plays out in cycling. So in general, based on like cardiovascular stuff with like the heart size, the lungs, and muscle strength and like types of muscle fibers, men are going to outperform women in cycling, running, stuff like that, pretty much all the time. And for anything over 400 meters, it's like a 10 to 12% advantage that men have over women. But when you get to like ultra endurance distances, like let's say 100-ish miles, I think is like maybe a drawing line or whatever, and longer, you actually have a situation where because women have more of the type 1, aerobic fibers. I think this is something people would have to confirm because I don't remember the details exactly, but I think it results in us being able to process energy better, like when it comes to like carbs and fats and stuff when we're running. And I think our muscles might actually fatigue more slowly. So we can outperform, like a well-trained woman can outperform men in those long distance runs and stuff. So you see people like Courtney, is it DeWalter?
DeWalter, yeah.
Yeah, like fucking crushing
Yeah.
some of these long distances. Now, I haven't seen anything on cycling with that, but once you get past, I think like a few days or a couple days, it's like you have so many other factors coming into play, like strength would matter again, like for cycling, how much you're sleeping and stuff. So the waters get muddied there. But to answer your question more succinctly, what it comes down to for me is that the categories of men and women in sports, those divisions are based on these physiological differences between men and women that give biological men the upper hand almost all the time. And so I do not think that trans women should participate in the women's division because trans women have biologically male bodies. I think the reason you said it's a touchy topic, I think it gets touchy because we're talking about people's identities here. So, I mean, I would certainly want people to accept me for who I am and what I identify as if I was a trans person or identified as non-binary and stuff like that. And I do socially, like whatever people want to identify as and present as, I think, go for it. Like live your life in a way that makes you feel happy. And I think you deserve to feel loved. But when it comes to sports, we're talking about competition. And again, it's based on biology. So it's kind of like identity is not, I think, a valid metric for including someone in a sporting division.
It's in conflict. Those two things are in conflict with each other, right?
Correct.
And so I think I'm with you on personal freedom, right? Like like people should have the right to be whoever they are, whenever they want.
As long as they're not hurting other people, like be yourself.
When you are now, it's like, maybe this isn't the best analogy, but like if you're all driving on the roads, so like if you're driving a car in some backcountry, you can do whatever you want. You can not stop. You can just like you can do donuts wherever you want, but when you're driving down the highway and you're with all these other people, there's just certain like things that we have to follow together to accomplish this thing that we are trying to accomplish. This is probably a horrible analogy, but like with sport, like there are just some core fundamental principles that cannot be undermined, I think. And there's a reason why there's been categories over time. And so where's the middle ground, right? What's the solution here?
Mm-hmm.
There must be the ability to have inclusivity and also the integrity of competitive sport. I believe those two things can coexist.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to be happy on both sides, but there's going to have to be a compromise, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think the answer has to be like an across-the-board thing. Like I think, like I was saying, for combat sports or ones that involve pure strength, where women don't stand a chance against men, where it can actually be unsafe.
Yes.
I think there should be like the defined categories based on biology. But maybe for some sports where physiology doesn't matter, I'm told it doesn't matter for like sled dog racing. I've never sled dogged, and neither has the person who is telling me this. So maybe it does, and we just don't know. But maybe there are some sports where people would be like, let's just not have categories. Or, I mean, we can have categories where I've heard people suggest open women. So like you could have anyone who wants to participate in the open women's category can, but then there'd still be a women's category where it's for biological women.
Right.
I think really what needs to happen is more people need to talk about it. And I appreciate you asking, because I think a lot of people have these conversations online versus like in person, or with people of varying backgrounds, like people who identify as trans or who identify as non-binary or cisgender. And online, it just it devolves to just like name calling and yelling for the most part. Like if you express a different opinion than what people want to hear, you're either a bigot or you're coming after people's kids or something,
Yeah.
So yeah, in-person conversation needs to happen. And I think it's important to remember too that no demographic is a monolith. So like what do you think of testosterone being used as a metric for trans women being able to participate in the women's division?
So like testosterone testing?
Yeah, so like if a person uses testosterone blockers, that's what I've heard
Right.
a lot of people recommend. Like, oh, if you've taken a testosterone blocker and your free testosterone levels are within a certain range, you can participate in
I
a
think,
women's category.
yeah, that's problematic because there's been decades of advantages from natural testosterone up until that point. So there's been muscles and bone built, like let's say the person's in their 20s. After post-puberty, they've had all the advantages of the testosterone to develop muscles and bone structure of a biological male. They can't just like they can't just like block the testosterone and then undo decades of of building larger lungs, and that not making a difference in sport. Like the idea that biology is not real, or that it doesn't matter. I'm just too much of a realist for that sort of thing. Like there's reproductive systems. There's two reproductive systems in nature, and that's it. Like you're either one or you're the other. And there are some things in nature that have environmental pressures that make it change those reproductive systems, like frogs, I think, based on like population density of males or females. They'll change. Basically, they'll become one or the other reproductive system. But there's only two, and that's just the way that it is, right? And there are different developmental things that come out of those two reproductive systems, different like physiological advantages for both of the sexes, right? And that's just a core thing for me, right? And so I don't really care. Like I don't really care, except that there's a cohort of women that I think, like all I hear on bikepacking.com articles is like, Lael Wilcox cheering Austin Killips on for taking her record. And there's like not a lot of voices out there, female voices out there saying, hey, this is a problem for me. Like, I think that this is wrong,
Why do you think that is?
I mean, I know for like white males, it's just because of like fear of oppression, of like, for some reason, a white male's opinion is like instantly written off.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. At least I felt like I really felt like that for many years. Right. Now for a female, I don't know why. I know that I know some people personally in my life that like say that in private, but won't say it in public, And so I appreciate that you're able to articulate, your thoughts and feelings on this. And that like, I want to have someone on this podcast. Like I went on bikepacking.com and posted an article. Like I want to have a debate on this podcast. I would love to have that. Like a civil face-to-face, like let's talk about
discussion. Yep.
A discussion. Because like the keyboard warrior thing is just stupid. It's just like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, very echo chamber, like now it's kind of converting into this like a space where they're like, we're having free and open discussion. And I just don't feel like it's really, I don't know. It's just getting more and more isolated in its own echo chamber, and bikepacking in particular seemed to get like really woke It just went really woke, and there's really no media outlets that are the counter, that are the anti-woke.
I don't read.
You know?
Yeah, I don't go on like bikepacking.com or anything like that. I just don't, not because I don't like them or something. I just don't have an interest typically in like looking at the gear reviews or the write-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not aware of like kind of like the siloed nature of it, but you're not the first person that's mentioned that. So,
And, you know, like, I got to give credit where credit's due for bikepacking.com. They were like the first place I went when I got into bikepacking, and I started to see routes and stuff like that. And I have a weird relationship with them because, you know, we run an event, and like they are part of the promotion of that event, and they were a big part of the recapping of that thing. And you know what? Like bikepacking.com, they're a private company. They can do whatever they want. Like, I'm not telling them what to do by any means. Like, they can choose to do whatever they want, and they've built a really successful business in a very niche market, and that's pretty cool. They've just like put all their eggs in one basket now, it feels like, with, you know, I don't know if it's like sponsorship or the livelihood. There's like, the problem is once you get like a life built around this one thing, it's very hard to like take a risk.
yeah, I can see that.
You know, and I specifically with this podcast, I was like, I don't really want sponsors. I mean, I have Embark and I have Squirrels. Those groups are like, they don't pay me. They just give me product. And it's not a whole lot, and I don't ask for a whole lot. And if they decided to not be a sponsor, because of something I said on this podcast, I'd be totally cool with it. I'd still use their products. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, I still love their products. But I think that the main reason why most people, I think it's because of money. I think it comes down to money 9 out of 10 times. Is people
Silences folks.
Yeah, they just don't want to, like, I really feel like, and I'm not picking on Layal, I'm kind of picking on Layal, but I feel like if she didn't cheer on Austin Killips, that would have been problematic with her sponsors. Like, if she came out and said, this is bullshit, that shouldn't be a record, I can almost promise you she would have lost sponsors.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know so, but she's built a life off of this relationship between content and sponsors. And it's delicate, you know?
Yeah, it is delicate. Yeah, it's certainly a possibility. I don't know her well enough to know.
She'd have to say that, but like,
yeah, exactly.
I know that, like, that's what happened in a lot of other industries.
Okay.
You know, was the fear of losing the sponsorship and saying the wrong thing, because you've now made yourself a public figure, and like you have a responsibility to the people who are footing the bill. Yeah. With that image that you've created. So that's speculation that that's exactly what happened, but like, that's what I believe would happen. Is what happened, you know, that if she didn't say that, it would have been problematic. So here I am trying to say it. You know what I mean?
Well, I appreciate that you ask people these questions. I think you had actually mentioned once that you ask a lot of people, and they ask for their opinion not to be part of the episode. Like cut it. And I can understand why. I mean, people don't want to say things either that I think would be deemed hurtful, like, or would be taken as hurtful. And I think that's one of the problems we have with this discussion, is that we assign a lot of intent to what people are saying. And we're actually, I think sometimes we're talking about two different things. So people have a tendency to argue past each other. So I'm talking about it from a perspective of biological sex. But then if someone were to respond, well, trans women are women, they're coming at it from a perspective of like a social belief system. So sometimes people aren't even talking about the same thing. And I like the idea of getting several people together to, like, you know, calmly talk about stuff and like get ideas out there, because that's the only way you know where people are coming from. And I guess to get back to the comment I made about like no demographic being a monolith, there's one thing that a trans woman I used to ride with in Albuquerque told me that I never would have thought of unless we had this discussion. But she does not take testosterone blockers and won't, because she doesn't want to impact like her muscle and health, like strength and stuff like that, and just whatever else testosterone affects. And so if there's also some type of regulation that in order to participate in the women's category, you have to take testosterone. That's actually going to then cut out trans women who don't want to take testosterone. And I think it's important to remember that for people who identify as trans, they don't all like fall under the same bucket of characteristics and lifestyles and ways they express themselves. And
that's ironically not inclusive.
yeah, exactly. And you don't know that unless you actually talk to people.
Right.
So I think it's important to have those conversations. And yeah, and then as far then as like, should testosterone be the metric? There's so much more that goes into our systems and like what affects different things that I'm hard pressed to think that blocking your testosterone would actually bring yourself down to being equal with females in all these different ways.
Right.
But I don't know that for sure. I don't know the research. I think a lot of this doesn't even have research yet.
Right.
So, I mean, that's an opinion that could change, you know?
Yeah.
We need some data.
Yeah. You know, my only thing would be, my only recommendation as a human would be like that humans change. We evolve like within a decade, within 5 years, within 20 years. And to like, when you start making physical changes to yourself that you can't undo, just think about if you're going to have a different opinion. I couldn't even get a tattoo because I know I'm going to be like, I'm not going to like whatever it is in 10 years. I guarantee it. Right.
Yeah.
And so like, I just want people to be careful. Things seem very trendy, you know, and I don't know if all the people are doing it for all the right reasons. And I just hope that they are. I hope that the people that are making these decisions to like do things that are irreversible, I hope that in 10 years, they're going to still stand by that and not regret what they did. That's just because people change, you know, in all ways. So, but the one thing to tie it back to endurance sports is like, I love, like back to Courtney. I remember when I first heard of Courtney, she was like destroying on the Moab 240 run. She beat the second place male by like a marathon's distance or something.
Wow.
And
That's
that
incredible.
was like, that moment for me was like, endurance sports often are like the ultimate equalizer of humanity, right? Like throw out gender, throw out race, throw out everything. Like everybody suffers together, and like there's so many different factors to it that it does make it like interestingly somewhat of a level playing field, because you have food, you have sleep, you have these type 1 and type 2 fibers. Like there's so many factors that that make it really fun and interesting, and make it so that like all groups of people, like to me it's one of the most inclusive sports for everybody.
I agree.
If you throw out like competition and FKTs and all this bullshit, it's like so many women have just destroyed me. And I'm like, you're a badass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so cool to be a part of a sport that like brings everybody down to one level, right? And like, it just crushes and humbles. No matter how cool you think you are, it humbles you and crushes you, and you like rise from the ashes. Sometimes you don't, I guess. You know. And so yeah, I've learned that more and more and more and more as the years have gone on, like how much respect I have for all people across, because I've been at start lines and I've been like making judgment on people, you know, from the way they look or like their bike or whatever. I'm like, that person's not gonna like look at that setup. I don't know, you know.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like competitively psyching myself up, you know, whatever, in some stupid like 13-year-old mid-puberty kind of way.
Yeah.
Like stupid young boy that's like trying to outdo other people or whatever. And then that person goes out and just fucking destroys everybody.
I love that.
Yeah, and you're just like, dude, stop being judgmental, you know what I mean?
Yeah, when I finished my first Tour Divide, I did it on a $500 hard rock with really crappy panniers and stuff to hand me down bags. Like it comes more down to a person's mental strength, I think sometimes.
Yeah.
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 No, I agree. I think bikepacking in general is a very inclusive sport. Yeah, it's. I hope more people are willing to talk about stuff like this, because everyone should be able to participate. I wish everyone would be able to participate in a way that makes them feel like whole as a human.
Yeah.
And I also want things to be fair. So the conversations need to happen, and people need to know where everyone's coming from. And frankly, there's a lot of research that needs to be done too. If there are going to be rules and regulations based on things like testosterone blockers and stuff. So,
yeah. And people need to like sometimes get the whole story. Like, I'm guilty of this too. Like, not getting the whole story and speculating.
mm-hmm.
I just did it a few minutes ago, with layout. But like,
yeah,
people need to learn all sides. They need to understand that sometimes things are much more complicated than what it looks like on the surface.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the thing. Things are way complicated. I mean, even getting like to like sex, how you're saying like there's two biological sexes. I was listening to Andrew Huberman's most recent interview was with a guy named Narao. I can't remember his last name. I think he's also a researcher at Stanford School of Medicine. And we typically, I think when we're in high school biology, we learn that males have XY chromosomes and females have XX chromosomes. But what this guy was saying was that it actually comes down to a gene that typically attaches to the Y chromosome called the SRY gene. And that gene has the coding to produce a protein called this, I think it's the sex determining, I'm going to look this up too so I don't get it wrong.
Jamie, look it up.
Jamie, look it up. What's this thing called?
Or Ginger, if my dog could only...
Oh my God, Ginger.
Only produce.
Poor sweet Ginger. Sex determining region Y protein. So that protein is what tells the gonads to form testes. And not only does that like kick off a person developing as a biological male, but it suppresses a person developing characteristics of a biological female.
Okay.
So that typically is attached to the Y chromosome. But there are situations where, like, say someone has XY chromosomes and there's something in their body that causes the SRY gene to malfunction. And so basically it's like it doesn't exist. It's not there. That person is going to develop as a female because it's not the XY pairing that makes a person develop as biological male. It's that SRY gene. So you could have someone who has XY chromosomes but is a biological female because that SRY gene got kicked out. You can also have a scenario where, say, in the father of the affected individual in sperm development, there's some type of genetic malfunction that causes the SRY gene to not attach to the Y chromosome, but attach, usually, if it's going to like jump ship, it's going to attach to an X chromosome. So you could have someone with XX chromosomes that has the SRY gene, so they will develop as a biological male. So
Okay.
so I think this is something that it just made me think of how we've got issues with like Olympic athletes. I haven't like read into any of these things, but I know there have been cases where people are like, oh, this person is a biological male participating in a women's sport. And then someone will say like, well, no, we tested this person and they have XX chromosomes.
Right.
Well, they could actually have the SRY gene and technically they're a biological male. But this is all to say that even biological sex isn't as straightforward as we like to think it is.
Okay.
And so like that's complicated. Then you bring in gender identity, that's complicated. So I think it's one of those things where it's complicated and we need to talk a lot to like work through it.
Yeah.
And recognize that it's not as cut and dry sometimes as we think things are.
Yeah.
To bring it back to like the physiological stuff, like if you have that SRY gene, you are developing as a biological male, you are going to have those like characteristics that give you the advantage most of the time over women in sports.
Right.
So,
But that's interesting because I think chromosome tests were like one of the go-tos.
Yeah, they were.
For one of the thoughts of go-tos for solving this. Mm-hmm. And that's not the case.
No, it's not the case.
Interesting.
And you can test for the SRY gene, I'm sure. So maybe that's something they've talked about or... Dude, I was reading about what they used to do for testing when they first started to have women's divisions in the Olympics.
Uh-huh.
And I forget what they called them early on, but like so degrading. They would actually have the women like parade around naked in front of like a bunch of doctors who were assessing their external genitalia and stuff to make sure that they were female and could participate in the sport. It's like, fuck, we've come a long way since like the 60s and 70s. Like, my God.
Yeah, we made progress.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow.
So I guess too, it's also important to remember how far we've come, even though we have these complex issues today. Like, we do progress. We do work through things. And I think we're perfectly capable of working through this.
Totally. Yeah. We just need to be civil and do it with love.
Yes.
So we love you guys.
That's the key. Yes. Love everybody.
We love you all. So, all right, Lindsay, you're awesome.
You are too. It was really great to do this event and to get the opportunity to meet you and just chat about all these fun things and sports in general.
Absolutely. So people can find you. Your Instagram is Carefree Wanderings.
It is. I'm not on there a ton, but
you post some cool stuff.
Thanks.
You are a epic adventurer. So
I do like to get out.
Yeah. So congratulations again on your finish.
Thank you.
It was great to experience it and to pass you by on our dots past each other. And
that was a lot of fun.
You gave me a little boost during that. So
Same.
It was a much needed boost at that time.
Hell yeah.
So, So thanks again, and we'll catch you later. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Bye, y'all.